Hey guys, it's Mana here, and after my short little break, we are back with some more Seduce Me the Otome. Really excited about this. I want to see where it's going, so just gonna jump right back in. I stared at my lap. This was all amazing, yet this wasn't satisfying my curiosity. Did I want to know more? Did I want to know just about demons? This was all a huge deal, and I felt both over and underwhelmed. So, these rules have rules over humans? Humans can't know about magic at all?
Correct. Humans, to the angels, need to remain pure and innocent. So they dictated that humans cannot know of the other worlds or of other beings. The rest of us agreed. Only a select few are allowed to know the truth about us.
But that's hardly fair, isn't it?
Well, take a look at yourself. You're barely proficient with magic. Your kind is too focused on who will fight the next war or who will screw the next person. I'm sorry to admit this, but humans are the weakest race in the planes of existence. The only ones who truly protect you are angels.
I felt angry that she made humans sound inferior. Yeah, we had our faults, but it wasn't like any of the other races were better, right? There was no way humans were the inferior race. Well, we're not inferior.
Oh, you're not now? Really?
Diana stared at me, looking me up and down before smirking a bit.
Let's go on a little trip, shall we?
I raised my eyebrow. What was she on about? First she wanted me to stay here. Now she wanted to go out. What is with this girl? Before I could protest, the world began to spin around me, forcing me to jump up and grab onto Diana. She held me as the room spun practically out of control. My fear escalated, and I buried my face in her shoulder, wanting it to stop. If she was trying to prove a scary point, it was working. I felt the world slow down around me and soon come to a halt. I didn't want to look, but gently Diana pushed me away from her body for me to look around. I gasped when I realized I was in a business office. What? What is going on? Where are we?
Just a simple business office. Nothing more.
I looked around and felt an air of familiarity to the room. I couldn't figure out why, but my brain kept me aware that I knew this place somehow. I didn't get to think on it long. Suddenly a group of businessmen entered the room, stopping at the sight of Diana and I.
Who are you two?
I froze. What was going to happen? We were going to be thrown out, get in trouble, and I would never be allowed out again. This was a mild nightmare. Diana's giggle stopped my thoughts. I looked up to see her smirking at the group of men, her hands by her lips.
Why, do you not know who we are? For shame, for shame.
Diana guided me to a chair and sat me down before sitting on the table. I practically turned red as Diana hiked her dress to where her entire legs slipped out from the slit. She crossed her legs and tossed her hair gently.
We are your employers. This lovely lady is the CEO of the company, and I am her personal secretary. You men, however, are late.
I stared at Diana as she stared down the group of men like a tigress would her prey. The group collectively began to shuffle in nervousness, surprising me. Were they really believing her lie? How? Diana smiled and lifted her legs slightly, making the men lean in for a possible panty shot. I couldn't help but feel both stunned and slightly jealous.
One of you needs to come over here and kiss my foot as an apology.
What? I looked to Diana's foot, seeing it gently bob in slight impatience. Was she seriously going to make one of them kiss her foot? They obviously couldn't be that enthralled with her enough to stoop so low. I let my thoughts become destroyed as I watched a man step out from the group nervously and get on his knees in front of Diana. As he gently cradled her foot in his hands, I tensed and held my breath. No way. The man gently kissed over Diana's foot, making almost a sultry sigh escape her lips and send a shiver down my spine. Diana smirked and leaned back on her hands, looking down at the man before her.
My ankle next.
Like an obedient servant, the man traveled his kiss to her ankle as Diana let her head fall back with another sigh. Diana, what are you doing?
Proving to you how weak the human mind is.
Well, the male mind, at any rate. Diana raised a hand above her and snapped her fingers, causing the group of oogling men that remained to straighten up like an army at attention. I felt myself tense and catch my breath in response, but I couldn't feel any power over me.
Water, a massage, another kiss.
With each command, a man would separate from the group and fulfill it obediently. I watched as each man became particularly a slave to her whim. Diana closed her eyes and let out a pleasured hum, making my spine tingle again. For some reason, this irritated me beyond belief. Watching her be pampered by enthralled men made something crawl in my chest, something dark. I wanted it to stop. That's enough, Diana. Diana and the men around her suddenly looked at me. Diana was a little surprised, but then slightly smirked.
Oh my, is someone a little jealous?
It's not like that. Just stop it. You've proved your point. Diana chuckled, making me wince. Would she stop? She wasn't obedient like the boys, so who knew with her? Diana then snapped her fingers, surprising me and forcing the men around her to huddle together where they were previously.
I have proven my point, haven't I? Oh, well. I guess I got a little carried away.
Diana ran a finger over her lower lip and giggled at my face, though. What?
You're adorable when you're jealous.
My face turned red instantly, and I covered my cheeks, glaring at Diana. She giggled again before snapping her fingers and making the room around us fade away into darkness. A mere breath later, we were back in my bedroom, with both of us on my bed. Diana stretched her arms up and smiled at me.
So, now do you understand the vulnerability of humanity?
I gritted my teeth. Humans weren't as weak as she claimed. I couldn't believe it. Just because we were weak didn't mean that we couldn't know about those who were supposedly more powerful than us. I glared at Diana. That justifies ignorance? How does that justify ignorance?
Ignorance is the only safety humans get to have. If humans were to know about us, do you know what kind of chaos would occur?
For once, I felt scared. Diana's eyes were cold as ice as she stared into my soul, practically giving me the frightening feeling of the future I questioned.
There are already wars in the human world being fought amongst yourselves. Equality, dominance, power. The human world is practically the image of self-chaos. Innocent blood is spilled every day in your world. Doesn't matter the color or creed you carry. You think blood is spilt now? There will be much more if humans knew about otherworldly creatures. Our existences can destroy beliefs and human logic.
I felt the world around me go dark as I stared at Diana. Sounds of screaming and battle raged around me, but I kept my eyes to the one person I could see. Was this an illusion? Was this a trick? It didn't feel like it.
Religions would crumble and civil wars would clash. Paranoia would be a constant in every human mind. And soon armies will rise up, trying to defend humanity without true knowledge of who we are and what we can do. Vampires would be forced to retaliate and build armies of their own, and trust me, they're not as friendly as the vampires in your human fictional drabble. Devils would have a heyday and wreak havoc, finally finding a collective weakness in the human world to exploit. Angels would have to come down and fight their devil rivals, and the human world would become their battlefield.
I could see the world Diana described flash before my eyes. I could see humans screaming and fighting each other, trying to figure out who is what and being frightful with every blink. I imagined devils like Malik's ravaging cities and killing people while soldiers tried to fight back, failing and dying at every turn. The image was scary, and I didn't want to imagine it. I shook my head, holding it in both hands before looking to Diana. My room had returned, and Diana stared back at me. To my surprise, she had a concerned face.
The rules are to make sure that we all stay at peace. To have us all fighting at once would result in a massive cataclysm that would engulf everything and everyone, no matter what we were.
Diana finally broke away from the gaze she held on me and stared at the far wall. I could see a look of fear rush through her eyes as she looked away from me. I almost felt sorry, but my confusion covered my concern.
Demons already have enough on our collective plates. We don't need to become the backlash victims of broken ignorance.
Diana. Something in Diana's eyes made my heart almost hurt. Even though she wasn't looking at me, I could almost feel all the emotions that ran in her mind just by observing her eyes. I felt bad, terrible even, for questioning her as I did. I was only human after all. However, I felt the need to comfort her. Something was going on, and Diana was holding back. Whether or not I learned more by comforting her almost didn't matter. I felt myself gently scoot closer to Diana before laying a hand on hers. Diana stared at me for a brief moment before shaking her head frantically and shutting her eyes tightly. A soft sigh escaped her lips before she looked at me again with almost a new resolve.
I'm fine. I was merely trying to prove my points.
The day then became filled with Diana teaching me about magic. Even when the day ended, I needed to learn more. I began to crave it. I begged Diana to stay, despite knowing our deal. Diana, despite promising only to stay a day, agreed to stay longer to tell me more. Soon, days passed by, filled with lessons and examples of magic. Knowing that I would be missed at school, Diana quickly took care of making sure I wasn't missed. Using a simple spell, as she called it, she created an illusion of me to go in my place. It was real to humans and acted just like me, but it was like a ghost to demons. Kinda wish I would remember that spell. She told me of vampires, creatures that looked just like humans who had an inner hierarchy. There were 4 types of vampires, but all of them were under oath by rule of the worlds not to hunt humans. It was strange and it felt like a fictional novel, but Diana promised that vampires were not like the books. They had adapted to living with humans, creating a formula that would allow them to walk around during the day. They even had a blood bank as currency and made synthetic blood to quench their thirsts. They had real blood to drink, of course, but they got it either through hospital blood drives or black market means. It was surreal. Devils were as chaotic as Malix was, but they were still all under the command of a very powerful fallen angel and devil king Satan. He, however, still had the heart of an angel. He was simply sitting in hell and waiting for an opening into the human world. I hoped it would never come. Angels, on the other hand, were not as expected. When I thought of angels, I imagined beautiful human-looking creatures with wings and halos.
I still wonder who spread that rumor.
Diana explained that they actually looked monstrous. Each archetype of angel looked different, but Diana couldn't describe them all. The one that stood out the most to me was Seraphim. She described it as a mysterious creature that hid behind 3 large pairs of wings. Seraphim, which is funny, because that's the name of the company that made this game. Or at least that's the one that I see up in the corner. What if the Seraphim did look human?
Well, anyone who has met a Seraphim and tried to find out has not lived to spill the secret.
I gulped. It was scary to hear that for some reason. Angels were strict and were not as forgiving as many claimed. According to Diana, they had a love-hate relationship with humans, but they didn't try to dominate us. They only became mediators for the rules of the world. Why not?
I'd rather not get into that.
Why?
It's not my place to talk about heaven. Only the angels.
She also mentioned their methods for memory removal. As the self-proclaimed guardians of the humans, they had the right to baptize humans who had memories of otherworldly creatures should they find any in the human world. This baptism not only erased the memories of magic, but erased their entire memory clean. Humans wouldn't remember who they were or who they knew. A blank canvas. Demons, however, unlike the others, were passive creatures that only truly cared for their own world. They had their own lands, kingdoms, and lord living there. The most powerful demon in the Abysmal Plains was the Demon Lord. He was the Incubi Boys' father, and he was a ruthless man. He had conquered several kingdoms with a massive, indestructible army. Many demons died under his brutality, but when he did conquer, life for demons was like the human Renaissance. Many feared that what land he would attack next. However, to everyone's surprise, the demon lord had tried to be peaceful with Diana's kingdom, as she was offered as a bride to one of his sons. Oh. Why would you accept that?
I had no choice. I was barely a child when the decision was made, and when I learned of it, I had accepted it.
Why, though? How would you know if you would be in love with the guy you married?
It didn't matter. My kingdom would be safe, and I would be able to live with knowing I was able to protect my kingdom.
I can't argue with that logic. I really can't. I stared at Diana as she smiled at me with sad eyes. She really didn't want to marry them. It was practically painted all over her face. You shouldn't have to marry someone you don't love. I'm not going to say anything. I understand her logic. It wasn't my business to know any more than what she had already told me. I could tell this arrangement was detailed beyond agreement, so I simply remained silent.
Is there anything else you wanted to know?
Always. I stared at her as I thought. Was there anything else I wanted to know? My memories were forfeit in the end, so everything was up for grabs. Yet I couldn't think of a single question to ask. Was that all I wished to know? No, there was nothing else I needed to know. I felt satisfied. No, that should be all.
I understand.
Diana stood and adjusted the bottom of her dress before smiling at me. I barely noticed how much time had passed between us. It felt like forever, yet I enjoyed learning more. I felt bad that I had to lose my memories. However, that was the deal, and according to Diana, demons never go back on their word.
Well, if you don't mind, there's one place I need to visit, and I'd rather visit it now than after I take your memories. I'll be gone from the area for quite a while anyway.
Huh? Where do you need to go?
A cemetery. There's something I need to do there. It's boring, sadly, but I need to do it. You need to come with so I can watch you.
Why did she need to go to the cemetery? Did she have a human friend she needed to say goodbye to? Did she have to meet with another demon? Sure, let me...
No need to get dressed up. It's just a brief visit.
Diana snapped her fingers and the world melted into black. I stood and walked to be beside Diana, unsure of what was happening. Why wasn't the world spinning instead? Was the spinning a trick she did? I felt myself click my teeth in irritation at the thought. Soon the world grew back its color, and we were standing in a field I somehow recognized. I looked down and regretted it. At our feet was Grandfather's gravestone. It was untouched and as clean as when I last remembered seeing it. Why were we here?
Here we are.
Here. I stared at Diana as she muttered a small incantation under her breath. In her hands formed a small vase with purple lilacs. She gently knelt down and placed them beside the grave.
I had to pay my respects to this man.
Why? Were you friends of his? I needed to know. My mind began screaming. Something wasn't right. Why did she know him? How did she know he was dead? What was their relationship? What was going on?
No, I wasn't a friend of his. I didn't even know him.
Then why are you giving him flowers? My mind began to screech louder in my head. What was it? Why? Why? Diana, why are you giving him flowers?
You don't need to know. I highly doubt you knew this man.
Yes, I do. Diana stared wide-eyed at me, a mixture of fear and surprise mixed in her eyes. My heart began to squeeze tightly in my chest. Why was she looking at me like that?
How do you know him?
Answer my question.
How?
I said, answer my question. I couldn't hold in my voice. I needed to hear her answer, and I didn't want to hear anything else. Anything other than her answer would infuriate me. Diana looked down at the grave, letting out a small sigh. My heart tightened further. Answer me. I needed the answer.
This man helped the boys come to the human world. He opened a bridge and let them through, before sealing it with a part of his life force.
There was more. I knew there was more. I remained silent as she took a breath. And I have to end it there because I've been recording for quite some time. So we'll pick back up on this cliffhanger as we find out more details about what happened. I had a feeling it was her grandfather who let them through. So I'm not all that surprised. but it's still very interesting. I can't wait to see where the story goes. I'm very excited. It's really good. I love this. It's on the it's free to play on Steam, so if you want to play it for yourself, just hop on Steam. You can go find it in the free to play section. I'm logging off now. I'll see you guys later, and remember to do something nice for a stranger today. You may just save a life.